Welcome back, mother lovers, for another episode of Last Call at McLaren'S, the best damn How I Met Your Mother, in this case, How I Met Your Father, podcast out there on the internet. I am your host, Josh, and I'm here with my best bud, John, just as usual. How you doing, man?
I am holding up excellent. How about you?
Doing good. Doing real good. Watched the episode for a third time right before the show here, and I gotta say, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing.
You know, I have to agree with you. I haven't really been disappointed with the show yet. I'm hoping it stays true.
Yeah, me too. So, let's start. Let's get into this. We're talking about
do it.
We're talking about How I Met Your Father, Season 1, Episode 3, The Fixer. Aired on January 25th of 2020. Directed by Kimberly.
2022.
That's what I meant. You know what? These last 2 years have just been 2022. That is correct. Directed by Kimberly McCullough, who had directed several episodes of High School Musical, the series, apparently.
Ooh.
And she also played the character. I don't know how many soap operas you watched in the day, but she apparently played a character called Robin Scorpio on several soap operas, including General Hospital, All My Children, and Port Charles.
No, that wasn't the soap operas I watched.
Yeah, so
I was more of a Channel 4, like the Guiding Lights, Bold and the Beautifuls.
Gotcha.
As the World Turns.
Gotcha.
I was that side of the soaps.
Hey, that's
with my grandmother and my mom.
That's fair. My grandma definitely watched General Hospital, so I remember watching some of that. I don't remember characters, though.
You know what the funny thing is it's like the weird thing about soap operas, not taking away from How I Met Your Father, the weird thing about soaps is no matter which one you watched, like which set you watched, there is one name from the Channel 4, well, it used to be Channel 3 soap operas, though, that everybody knows the name of, and it doesn't matter if they watch the soaps or not. You ready for this? I know you know this name. Victor Newman.
Oh, I do know that name.
Exactly my point. He is one of the most distinguished characters to have never been killed off, but always played by the same guy. And I'm sure he died somewhere along the way, but
probably.
But yeah, ever since I was a little kid, always the same guy, and it's fucking go him.
Yeah, that's
Victor
pretty good.
Newman.
Yeah, soaps they're a weird beast, you know. They're a weird beast.
They're their own entity of television that is so weird because a person can have a twin that they didn't know about, or they get amnesia and they die, but they didn't die. They've just been hiding. Where have they been?
It's funny.
God!
Any other show, those types of storylines, people be like, "This is garbage. Take it off the air."
Right?
But people expect it in a soap opera. They crave it, John.
Well, and it's so weird because it's like, okay, hypothetically, we're in a soap opera. It wouldn't be weird for me to be like, "Oh my God, I slept with your sister and she's pregnant," and you'd be like, "Oh my God, I was sleeping with her too." But really, it wasn't me. It was my twin brother, who isn't actually my brother. He's my father. And I'd be like, what?
And that would all be very messed up, but on brand. Very on brand.
Speaking not on brand.
So I just talked about the director. That got us into that. The episode is written by Dan Levy. I don't know if you recognize the name or not.
I do, but I don't know why.
He played David Rose on Schitt's Creek, and he is Eugene Levy's son.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh shit, he wrote this episode? That's kind of cool.
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek, man. Schitt's Creek. It's a good show. I highly recommend it. But that's not what we're talking about.
That
this is not a Schitt's Creek podcast. This is not Up the Schitt's Creek Without a Paddle. That's not what this is.
Is there a podcast called that?
I have no idea. If there's not, hey, somebody got some free names.
If there's not, you need to start another podcast just by yourself on that one.
Just talking about Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek Without a Paddle.
That could be fun. I
mean, you've already got the name. You might as well just fucking go for it at this point.
That's true. So we got a summary here. It's real kind of basic. It tells you the three different storylines that's going on in this, though one of them is kind of inaccurate. It says Sophie helps Jesse take photos for his Tinder profile and feels sparks with someone unexpected. Valentina helps Sid maintain his long-distance relationship.
Okay.
And Ellen helps Charlie find an apartment.
Oh, yeah, that's
not what happens in the episode.
No.
But that's what IMDb had for the summary, and I'm just like, guys, you're a little off. Now, maybe they're trying to not spoil things, sure, but still.
Well, which part of the storyline you want to talk about first?
Let's see. I'm gonna say let's talk about the Sid and Valentina side of things.
Okay, that's a fun place to start.
That is.
So I feel really bad for Sid in this episode. Yeah. Like, you get the full-hearted, like, he is trying to stay committed in this long-term relationship. But you can tell that, like, he's unhappy. You can tell that he really, like, he was talking about the delivery, the food delivery.
Yeah, and, like, HelloFresh.
Yeah, the HelloFresh delivery, thank you. And I'm like, he really doesn't like it. Like, maybe if they spice up the food a little bit or, like, did something other than fish, maybe he'd be a little bit more happy.
Yeah.
But, like, you can clearly tell he's not into the HelloFresh, like, thing.
Yeah.
He opens up the box to find this giant-ass fucking salt and pepper shaker-looking fucking sex toy.
Dude, this thing it's fucking huge, man.
I have never seen a sex toy.
It looks like somebody pulled a part of a car out, and I hear... You know what I mean? Well, it's like, here's part of the engine. I don't even fucking know.
I thought the same thing. I was like, man, that's way bigger than any sex toy I've ever seen.
And see, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, like a hose or something must attach to it, and then that goes. But no, it's literally this giant fucking thing that he has to put on his stick. And I'm just like, that is not like conducive for any sort of play.
No. And I thought that same thing. I was like, nowhere is that going to be enjoyable. First off, that thing has to weigh at least 5 to 10 pounds.
Yeah, Valentina specifically says it has 3 motors.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be hefty.
I'm just like, damn. And, like, I get it. Like, the girl's trying to spice things up a little bit, keep things fresh. But, like, damn, you're going to break a dude's dick that way.
That's true. So something I thought was interesting about their between Sid and Valentina, their kind of interaction that they're having throughout this storyline, it felt very much like something you would see between Barney and Marshall. You know what I mean? That was the parallel that I drew, because I could 100% see Barney being like, "Oh yeah, man, I'll show you. I'll tell you all about this thing," and Marshall being the one like really unsure about how that if he even wants to go and do this kind of a thing. I don't know. It just screamed that. I don't know if they're trying to kind of play on those character traits from the old show to keep us in that mindset or not. But maybe it's just because I'm so entrenched in the old show.
I mean, it could be a combination of both.
Yeah.
I mean, read it that way. It was a weird situation anyway. Like, I felt really... I can't say awkward because I wasn't awkward about it, but I was kind of like indifferent. Like, I'm like, if he's really unsure about this, I would have voiced my opinion and not stuck my dick in some weird machine.
But he's trying, and that's the thing.
I know, and that's what makes it so special.
Yeah.
And then can we just talk about how awesome Valentina was to hook him up at the end of the episode to get him out to see his girl?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
he's cool, man. It's like it's funny because like if neither of them were in a relationship, I could see them hooking up. They have a good chemistry together.
I will say this. I have a feeling by the end, because I know the first season's only going to be 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, if not by the end of season 1, somewhere in the beginning of season 2, him and his girlfriend are going to be split up and they will be dating.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they choose to go that route or not. I wanted to mention some stuff in this thing. The sex toy rolling around on the floor scene.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
Dude, it was like a bumbleball.
It was it was hilarious to me.
I'm just like, I really wish, because they show like them run after it. Yeah, and I don't know if you caught this or not, but when she steps forward, she kicks the rug up a little bit because like he has an area rug by the foot of his bed.
Oh, okay.
I really wish one of them would have slipped and fell, and it would have made that scene so much better.
I feel like it would have had to have been Sid.
Yeah.
It's like Valentina's like too cool for that. You know what I mean? Like I think Sid would have had to have been the one that tripped and fell and just like face planted as he's trying.
It would have been. I don't. They didn't even have to face plant. He could have just like kicked out sideways and like landed on like his like elbow arm here.
He just goes like careening out the bedroom door.
Yes, that would have been even funnier. Like he like slips the fucking carpet kicks backwards and he goes out the door.
Yeah, and that's how they end the scene right there. He's just out the door. That would be pretty damn funny. I would have actually.
I'm like, it was funny though, and like I said, I give him a lot of credit for even trying and then I love how like he's in his bedroom and he's like, oh man, I get shitty Wi-Fi in here.
Oh my god.
Like, hold on, and then he like opens the door and he does the hello.
I thought for sure somebody was gonna come in during that scene.
I thought the same thing, and I was like, either Valentina's gonna like pop her head in to check in on him, and there he's gonna be on the couch, or you know, Jesse wouldn't have come home because Jesse was out doing.
Everybody else was doing something else, so it really would only make sense if it was Valentina, and I could like it would have been believable because like if she's like checking in or whatever. But I give that actor credit, man.
Other thing that I noticed, by the way, and I don't know how I didn't catch this in the pilot episode, but I went back to double check to make sure.
Okay.
Did you notice they put a door on the kitchen?
Yeah.
Like, that door was never there before.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden there's a door to the kitchen.
Yeah. I know the entire apartment has, like, a big facelift on it.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, in a nice way, they've bettered the apartment. Mm-hmm. I would have never expected a door on that kitchen, though.
Yeah, I know it is odd to see it.
It is
every time I see it, I was like, oh yeah. I almost forget every time. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a door in the kitchen now. Like, okay.
Well, yeah, because
like, I want to be able to. Part of me is like, I want to see the fridge.
Yeah, and
that's why
I'm like, I was like, something's different, and I was like, oh my god, there's a doorway or there's a door there, and I can't see the fridge now.
Yeah,
I was like, it's freaking me out, but not in a bad way. Because, like, you know, like, a lot of stuff got a facelift in that apartment, so good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a great, what they did with this apartment is they did a great way of bringing what we knew and loved, but giving it its own spin so that we're not just staring at that same apartment.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
There are times where it's like, you forget that they're in that same apartment. Until like the camera pans up and there's the swords, which I fucking love every time I see them. I'm like, dude, yes.
Well, and it's so weird because there's already so many haters, and I'm like, we'd only had 2 episodes up until a couple days ago. I'm like, what the fuck are you people hating on?
Yeah, that's the thing that bothered me so much. It's like people are like, oh, this isn't how I met. This doesn't feel like you had 9 seasons to flesh out How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
It was 2 episodes when they were railing on this thing.
Yeah.
When the first 2 episodes of How I Met Your Mother aired, it was not this massive, oh my God, it's amazing.
No. How I Met
the only reason that we love them so much now is because we've watched them so many fucking times.
Oh, yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah. And it sucks. Yeah. Like, I know How I Met Your Mother is trying, and like there's a lot of the similarities. You see it. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
But it has.
And I'm sure that will start to fade a bit to where they're not leaning as much into the similarities.
Well, in this episode, they pulled back on the similarities. Yeah. There wasn't like the shot from shot, we took this and put it here. Yeah. There was its own feeling, its own storyline. They used language that How I Met Your Mother wouldn't have even thought about using years ago.
That's because they were on network television. Yeah,
that is true.
I remember we were doing one of the episodes, and I watched the commentary, the DVD commentary for it, and Carter and Craig talked about how they had wished they could have done something more, kind of like more. What's the word I'm looking for? More risque, I guess.
Okay.
But they were limited because they were on network television.
Dude, network fucking.
But now they can do whatever, on this show. Really, there are certain things they're not going to do. Like, I doubt they're ever going to show like nudity or I don't even know if they're going to drop it. I mean, they got real fucking close with Sid. Like, that's as close as you're probably getting. And like,
oh yeah,
I was shocked. I was like, wow, he went for it, man. That was because like, even the stuff in How I Met Your Mother where they show like whether people are naked, like they don't show it that much.
No, they're always decently covered.
You see, like you never see the portion between like the belly button and mid thigh. You know what I mean? It's always like from that part up or like the legs down kind of a thing, and that's it.
Yeah.
So like the fact that they even showed that, I was like, wow. And props to the actor for doing that scene.
I mean, hey, got to do what the money pays.
That's true. And then Sid flies out to LA. We talked about how Valentina hooked him up. I thought that was a great gesture for him to do that. I don't know how long he's going to stay out there, but I mean, he has a bar. He has a bar to run.
I was going to say, wouldn't it suck if that was his way of coming off the show?
That would
like we got him for like 2.5 episodes and then he's gone.
Yeah, that would really suck because I really like his character.
So now let's talk about Charlie and
Ellen.
Ellen. I promise I'll get better with names.
Oh no, it's totally cool. These two, they're very different people.
Oh, 100%.
Very, and so it's hard for them to connect. It's kind of like if I'm gonna parallel it to How I Met Your Mother, it was kind of like Marshall and Robin. You remember when they're like, we never do anything together. I mean, you know, it was kind of a weird relationship until it wasn't. And I felt that a little bit here, that they were so different. But in the end, it works. I think it'll be a really fun dynamic seeing the two of them live together. And
it's funny too because like you said, they're like 180% different. Like it's Barney and Lily all over again.
Yeah, them too.
Like like Barney and Lily don't ever really have much screen time together, and sometimes when they do, like Barney overpowers Lily because it's just the way he is.
Yeah,
but it was so funny because like in a way Charlie was looking out for her at one point and she's like, oh no, and then at the very end of the episode she's like, oh, that dude ended up like stealing some of my shit and then got a credit card and then like he was a pervert, and I'm like
stole her identity and got some weird ass shit.
In all fairness, I mean, like, yes, Charlie is a very like
he's naive.
He is,
but it's funny because you almost expect him to be not likable because like he's like this pampered rich boy, and so like that's kind of like the stereotype is like they're douchebags, but he's not. He's a very likable character.
But I think that's his saving grace at the same time, is that even though yes he is born into that life, he's so trying not to be that guy. But I think that's the problem, is that he's trying too hard.
Yeah. And like he doesn't do stuff like to be mean, like when he calls them pores.
First off,
and they have to be like, we've talked about you not using the word poor as a noun.
Yeah. And I thought that was great where he's like, you pores, and I'm like, ha ha.
Oh, and that was
like, that's fucking funny. Classic right there, man. Like that right there becomes like an instant.
And it's like he wasn't saying it to be mean. It's just kind of how like what he knew, I guess. You know what I mean? If you think about it, it's like that's what he's used to saying. That's how he was raised. It's one of those types of situations. But he's learning
how different they are from one another, but they're very similar. Like when they're sitting at the bar at the very end of the episode, and she's like, we must be the most bravest people in New York City.
Oh my God. Because that's in the trailer.
Yes.
And I'm like, because I couldn't remember who it was between.
Yeah.
From the trailer. And I'm like, I wonder when that's going to come up. And then it happened. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense now.
Dude.
It was perfect.
But it's so great because I love the like New York City firefighters are like, what? Like... Like, that bitch did not just say that.
Yeah, they were so oblivious to all that. It was really funny. There were a couple of Charlie scenes that I really thought were funny. One was when he walks out of the pawn shop.
Yes.
And the dude just yanks his money.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, because it's supposed to be a year's worth of rent, right?
Yeah.
In New York City, you're talking again, that was a nice apartment. You're talking at least probably $2,000 a month.
Easy.
So you're talking over $20,000 that he just had in his hand.
Yeah.
That dude who robbed him he lucked out.
Dude, he really lucked out.
But that means that golden spoon he had around his freaking neck was worth like over $20,000. He just lost all that money. It's like,
yep.
That I would die.
If
$20,000, just if I had $20,000 and then all of a sudden I didn't, like, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Well,
and then there was we gotta pull a Barney. And then there was the scene on the subway.
Yes. Would you
open
like
your
treat?
mouth for a treat? Stuck his fingers in.
But I love Charlie's reaction. That wasn't a treat.
That wasn't a treat. And it's funny because like the two ladies sitting next to him are like grossed out by what happened also. But I'm just like, one, you're on the subway. Two, you don't know this guy. Like, I know you're naive, man, but come on.
Well, I love that it must happen so often because, like, Sophie at the very end of the episode is in the thing and she's like, "Hi, Frank."
Yeah. I love that she knows his fucking name.
I mean, and then that's the other side of it, too. Like, okay, so I'm going to kind of, like, brush into the next part of the storyline here.
Yeah.
I really love that Sophie is just so naive and, like, the things she says comes off so innocent and yet like sometimes Marshall-ish, where she's like taking the pictures of Sid or Jesse. She's taking the pictures of Jesse.
Yeah.
And Drew's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, we're trying to get this guy a date, but this kid was like his last hope."
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Uh-huh.
Do you not hear yourself speak?
Yeah, that whole scene, I was like, oh, wow.
I really loved when he's like, "It was really nice meeting you, and I really have to go to work, but I'm really going to have to ask you to leave the property now."
Yeah.
And I was like, ah.
But yeah, so like, we finally got Josh Peck. You know, he was in the trailers a little bit.
He was. Which
and
made me
we
think
got
he was going to be a bigger part in the show.
Yeah, we got those first 2 episodes. And he was nowhere to be found. And so I was like, I wonder where he's going to come in. And then, boom, here he is. And they threw us a curveball. Because now we have a 5th contender for the father.
I mean, we do, but...
She met him that night.
Oh, you're right.
That's the whole point. It's the night of the engagement.
I didn't even think about that.
So now he is in the running. He is possibly... the father.
I had not thought about that.
And speaking of who could be the father, so she's doing all this stuff with Jesse. At the beginning of the episode, future Sophie, who by the way, I'm loving Kim Cattrall as future Sophie. I'm digging it. She says something to her son. She says, "This is the story of how I tried to help someone else fix all their dating problems through the magic of photography." And it got me thinking. I went back and I rewound just that part to make sure I heard it right. And I was like, if Jesse is the father, why would she have said it that way? If she's just telling a story to her kid, why would she have said someone else? I don't know. It felt off. So it made me just, in my mind, I was like, are they hinting to us that Jesse is not the father?
I feel like, I don't know.
I went on this whole rabbit hole in my brain about it.
Because there's plenty of times where, like, I don't know. I don't know. I have nothing on that one.
I don't, yeah. I understand, like, they don't want to give stuff away, but it just seemed like an odd dialogue choice. They didn't have to say it that way.
They didn't, but at the same time, if she was to just be like, "Oh, this is the time I helped your father with some photography." Well,
yeah, no, they didn't have to do that. It could just be like, "This is the story of how the magic of photography." This is the story about the magic of photography.
She also could have just used his name. This is the story of how I helped Jesse with his dating profile.
That's true, but again, even that she wouldn't say that. if it was the father.
True.
Like in real life,
True.
you know what I mean? You wouldn't talk that way. That's why it makes me wonder. So I don't know. We'll see.
I guess we'll see. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just so early in the show.
It is. And so like I'm probably just overanalyzing everything.
I think you just want to figure it out before the world.
Of course, you know. Of course,
I'm just enjoying it for the ride.
I mean, I'm having a fun ride trying to figure it out. Just looking for those clues, because if it's anything like How I Met Your Mother, there's going to be clues throughout.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about it.
So funny, because it's really funny that you'd bring up How I Met Your Mother, because so I saw this thing the other day that was talking about it was the lead, and our podcast had already been out at this point. So I saw another video on YouTube that is a How I Met Your Father talk along.
Okay, and
they were talking about the first 2 episodes and how like none of the main cast from How I Met Your Mother has shown up, and I'm like, first off, too soon. If you put a How I Met Your Mother cast member on the show already, you're certain dooming How I Met Your Father. Because then all you're saying is the show can only rely on nostalgia pops and appearances.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how, like, their predictions of people popping in. And, like, they're talking about, like, Barney, Tracy, and Ted. And I'm like, look, those are all really good. Because, you know, it's only 2022.
I would love to see those, but...
So would I. But I'm still sitting with, like, Wendy the waitress, Ranjit, Carl the bartender. Yeah. Those are the people who would make more sense to have pop in, because they're the characters that were able to like shift parallel with stories and not always have to be in like the main focus.
Yeah.
Ranjit would be perfect because they could get stranded somewhere and call for a taxi or something. And Ranjit, I mean, at that point, he's driving a limo.
They could literally call for an Uber, and maybe he's driving Uber now.
Oh man, but that would be a demotion from his limo service.
Well, yeah, maybe something happened. Maybe his limo service failed. You know? And so now he's doing Uber. You know,
Who knows? I mean, at that point he was only driving limo, so I mean, maybe he's doing it for extra money.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, or maybe they go for a big party or something and rent a limo, and he's, you know.
I know. I saw an article that it was an interview with Charlene Amoyo, who plays Wendy the waitress, and she said she would love to reprise her role as on the show, but there is somebody else who also expressed interest in reprising their How I Met Your Mother role, and I thought it was really interesting and would be really funny, and that was Britney Spears.
Oh my God, Abby?
Yeah,
that would be phenomenal,
right? I was like, I didn't know I wanted that until right now.
I mean, but that's one of those ones that like you wouldn't think about.
Yeah.
It's kind of like she could be a fucking like nothing at that point. She could just be in the episode. You could be like, oh my God, it's Abby.
Yeah. And then I saw this theory online, which is easily debunked. But there was a lot of people being like, oh, I bet you anything Sophie is Barney's daughter. And I'm like, what? No.
Couldn't be.
Because she is almost 30, I believe. I think she's 29. In this, which means she was born in like 1993.
Yeah.
Okay. Which would have made Barney, I think when I did the math, he would have been 17. But he didn't lose his virginity until he was 23.
Yep. I was going to say, I mean.
Yeah. So I'm like, do your research a little bit, people, before you're like, here's a great theory. And it's really not.
No, I mean, like, common sense.
Yeah, just like it's easy to be like, okay, you know, when did Barney lose his virginity? Like, how old was he, and how old is she? It's real easy to do the math on this stuff, people.
Now, here's one that I had a discussion about at work last night. I thought it'd be kind of funny. So we know that How I Met Your Father is taking place in 2022.
Yeah.
The future, we haven't actually been given an actual like timestamp. Like, this is the date in the future.
You're talking about. We talk about like where Kim Cattrall is?
Yeah.
Like 2050. They say it says it.
Okay, so 30 years in the future, essentially.
Yeah, like 28, but yeah.
28. So my theory would hold up still, though. What if the son of Kim Cattrall is dating Ted's daughter?
That would be interesting.
Because, I mean...
Or Barney's daughter.
Or Barney's daughter. I mean, either way, I mean, it would work. But yeah, I was like, man... I was like...
Or hell, Marshall's daughter. They all have daughters.
Ooh, Marshall's daughter. Your booty is so slamming. I want to get up on it.
Yes. So back to the Sophie Jesse stuff. We didn't really finish.
No, we really didn't cover on that yet.
Stuff. As this was starting, I was like, this feels very Ted and Robin to me. You know,
okay,
the kind of like helping each other out the way, because they did that a lot, and then it kind of like Jesse's character kind of started to morph for me throughout it, especially with the picture pose stuff.
Yeah,
and it felt like a Barney Marshall thing going on, because like Barney's got that specific pose, but Marshall always takes terrible photos.
Yeah,
you know, so I kind of got that vibe from it. Again, I keep looking for similarities because I like it. It makes me happy.
See, one of the things that made me laugh about that whole situation is that he's trying so hard.
Dude,
and I mean like over trying in a couple of them.
And he thinks what he's doing is good stuff.
Well, and I love how like he's relying on his mom's word.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, I brought hummus because, you know, having hummus pre-packed in your backpack shows this. And like, first off, hummus needs to be refrigerated. I'm like, so
maybe he's got a cold pack in there. You don't know.
I mean, maybe he might. You're 100% correct. And I'm not.
Yeah, I'm just like, really, guy? And then I love the like, well, at least get my teeth. I didn't do 2 rounds of Invisalign for nothing. And then he's like,
yeah,
being he's real like, awkward with the teeth.
I'm just like, God damn, dude.
Oh, he's so funny and awkward, and I love because like that's one of the things that made like Marshall so endearing. Was his awkward funniness, and we get a lot of that with Jesse, and I really like that.
Now, okay, so hypothetically speaking, you're setting up your dating profile for yourself. Show the viewers at home what a dating profile picture for Josh might look like.
I mean, I've learned all my picture taking cues from you, so it'd probably be a.
That's a great fucking picture, though.
With a little bit of duck lip.
Mine would probably be something like a.
Yeah, you got just a slight angle in there, just a slight,
just
not
a slight
too much,
angle.
Not too much.
Give it one of these.
A little down nod. Yeah, the finger in the mouth. As long as it's not the Frank finger, right? As long as it's not the Frank. And then, okay, so I want to talk, because like the whole picture thing happens, and we meet Josh Peck and everything, but it kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Like she doesn't wind up actually, as far as we know, doing anything with that. I know she sends him the picture later on for like when he's ready, but right now there's no Tinder profile. But so instead, she takes him to the bar or a bar.
I almost expected it to be a McLaren's.
Yeah, it's not Pemberton's.
No, it's not. It wasn't Pemberton's. They went to some random bar, which is why I almost expected it to be a McLaren's.
It would have been perfect.
If it would have been downstairs from his house. Why wouldn't they go there?
Exactly. It would have been perfect to just pop into McLaren's for this scene.
I think awesome. I think we're expecting too much from that kind of shit.
I know. And I'm hoping, because like I wouldn't expect it so much if they didn't live in that apartment. But the bar is literally downstairs from them.
True.
They walk out of their building and it's right to the right of them. Like it's there.
Yeah.
Like,
Justin, man, I get it.
I need it at least one time. That's all.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's too early still.
I agree.
It would have made a lot of sense for it to be this instance.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to go to the bar. We're going to try this out. And then when they were sitting at the bar and he was like, well, what do I say to that girl? I almost expected her to be like, have you met Jesse?
I literally wrote that in my notes.
But I mean, again, we're looking for too much of the stretch out for the. And
I think they knew that.
Yeah,
I think they wanted the audience to be like, oh, are they gonna do the how I met? And they didn't. They kind of did their own thing. You're gonna like me.
You're gonna like me,
dude. You got to try that sometime.
Well, gonna like you know what really made me think of that? When I heard that line, and it's just me being a nostalgia movie fan, I heard that line, and the first thing that came to mind, Jack Nicholson and Batman.
Oh, okay.
There's the scene where he first takes off the bandages and he looks in the mirror, and you don't get a look at him yet, but he's looking in the mirror and he goes, "Wait till they get a load of me."
Yeah.
And when she's like, "You're gonna like me," I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But it's funny because the way he did it, to me, again, maybe I'm just like trying to compare too much, but it screamed Marshall.
Yes.
The way he went in, but then just kind of like gave up on himself. Almost. You know what I mean?
You're saying it all wrong. Say it. My penis. No, you're saying it wrong. My penis. You're saying it wrong.
Like saying it wrong.
Because that's what came to mind, was like that whole episode where Ted was trying to use some of Barney's pickup lines. So I mean, I get where you're going with that. And the other thing that came to mind,
to me, it felt like it reminded me of the episode when Barney took Marshall. We just recently watched it.
Yeah,
Barney
the magic one
out to the bar, and he's like, he goes to like try to hit on that girl, and then he just like backs off of it. He kind of like collapses on himself almost.
I will call bullshit on the chick though. The chick he hits on.
Yeah.
So to call your friends or text your friends and be like, "Oh my God, it's proposal guy, LOL, JK winky face," but no, seriously, I'm still gonna fuck him. First off, bitch, fuck you. You don't deserve Jesse. Jesse is far better a man. And two, he's hung up on Sophie. It ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think he would have. I do believe he absolutely would have.
He absolutely would have. I mean, okay, your present situation excluded. You tell me you're a single man, you go into a bar, and a chick like that starts hitting on you, and you ain't gonna fuck her?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
exactly.
You gotta.
She would have said, if I walked up to a girl in a cheesy-ass pickup line like, "You're gonna like me" works, my pants are already off.
Fair. But, like, then she gets all, like, because, like, Sophie confronts her about it, and it's like, yeah, what you're doing is shitty, lady. Like,
yeah,
you're being real shitty. I don't care.
He was a really good friend of Sophie, but she totally cockblocked him.
Well, yeah, but it's like, I don't care if you're still planning to sleep with this guy. You're being a shitty person.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, like, when she says all this stuff, and then the girl's like, I was still gonna sleep with him, and he's like, "Is that still on the table?" She's like, "No, because your friend ruined it." And it's like, then were you really that like interested in sleeping with him in the first place? Like,
right?
If you thought it was that big of a deal that proposal fail guy is hitting on me, then wouldn't it still be worth going somewhere with it? Like, it's still proposal fail thing. Guy.
I'm like, he's still proposal guy.
Yeah,
like it doesn't change just because his friend is like, "You're a shitty person for texting your friends and being like, eh."
Yeah. So I'm just like, well, fuck you, lady.
I mean,
she definitely did not deserve Jesse, and Sophie may have cockblocked him, but she was also being a good friend,
Yes,
and I think that means a bit more to him.
You noticed one other thing I noticed about How I Met Your Father being slightly different, and I like it. All three of the storylines had their own parts. And
they didn't like merge.
Yes. They did not merge at the end to converge and make convenient.
They started together and then branched off.
That is
they were
true.
all sitting in the living room of the apartment, and we get introduced to all of the different storylines.
That is true.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that, like, How I Met Your Mother would, like, it would have started all together, branched out, and then come back together at the end.
Yeah.
They would have been at the booth, or they would have been doing something together at the apartment.
Yeah.
This one here is like, you know what? We're good with ending it with like here, and here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely. Fuck, man. I can respect
like
that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. We're getting more character development in with these people that we just met, but we're learning a lot about them. And like for instance, with Sophie, we're like learning more about her backstory. Yeah. And I feel like that's gonna be more important as the show goes on.
Probably.
And another thing about this show, not just this episode, but the show in general, the 3 that we have seen, it's got way more like emotion than like say the first 3 episodes of How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Like there are these tender moments where like the vibe just kind of comes down and it's like these sad moments, which you didn't get in those first 7, probably. I don't even know if we got them. We got it like at the end of the first season with the breakup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I was like, I'm just surprised by how deep they're kind of getting with the emotions.
I think they know that they have to be slightly different and still give. I mean, it's kind of cool that they can play the fiddle. Like they're like, oh, you want to hear this story about this thing on How I Met Your Father? Oh, here we go. And you're like, okay, yeah. Okay, I'm following this. Okay. You already feel for a couple of these characters. This is episode 3.
That's true.
But now that we've talked about the whole episode there
were a couple of small things that I wanted to just bring up that didn't really necessarily fit into either of any of those actual storylines. We learned that Ellen apparently still co-owns a farm with her ex, which I thought was interesting.
I thought that was kind of weird.
And then I wanted to ask your opinion on this. What the fuck is the point of Jasper's character?
The backup bartender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was there for one scene, said like one line, and was out, and that was it. That's the only time you see him.
Because I have a feeling he's there for one reason only.
Okay.
He's going to get fired, and somebody's going to take his spot at the bar. But they need a flaky employee to fire so that somebody can take the position.
Okay.
Because if it was just Sid running the bar, you wouldn't ever think of anything of it when like Sid's like, oh man, I gotta, but he has to have a flaky employee so that at some point he can need to be somewhere and the employee can't run the bar for him because he's always flaking out, going somewhere or doing something, his podcast, this, that, the other. He's going to have to put somebody else in charge, which I'm assuming is either going to be Ellen or Charlie.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, he's so pointless.
Yeah, because I thought about that.
He could be a funny, cool character if there was more, but there's not.
No,
so it's just now, it just feels pointless.
I had thought about that when I was watching this episode too, because he walks to the screen, he's like, "Yeah, that's really cool. All right, I gotta go record my podcast. I'll be back in like 2 hours." Yeah. And I was like, it's convenience. It's what me and you have always joked about, that one line of dialogue can take care of an entire thing. We didn't have to see 2 hours in that bar to know that Jasper took off.
Yeah.
He was there. He's got a podcast to record. He's gone.
Yeah.
So when it comes time to finally have to be like, oh, Sid needs to be somewhere and Jasper's unreliable, well, now somebody else can take, and he can either hire somebody, which could be Wendy the waitress, Carl the bartender.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be 110 different people who take over the bar.
So part of me would not want it to be Carl simply because of the theory that he's the one who owns McLaren's.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason. Like, it's never been confirmed that he actually owns it, but...
You're right.
Yeah. Wendy would be cool, though. Or Doug.
Or Doug.
Dude, Doug would be hilarious if he popped in for an episode.
Well, there was another guy...
The whole thing is, like, if Jasper hadn't been in the episode, I wouldn't even have thought about him. Nothing would have changed in the episode. Not a single thing would have changed.
Well, like I said...
I would have not even noticed. I guarantee you that.
It's a nuance thing. He's literally got to be there just for that speck of moment so that, like, you can literally later on when his character is finally, like, obsolete and not needed anymore. And I'm gonna cross the boundaries with our podcast here for a second. You ready for this? When he's obsolete and you have to delete him, well, then you're gonna be like, well, wait, oh shit, yeah. Now that I think back in all those other episodes, he is only there for a nuance of time, and he isn't needed in that, or he's not needed in that bar.
Yeah, I agree. Now he's probably the one watching the bar when Sid goes to L.A. I would assume. Because who the hell else works there?
Unless we find out the bar's been closed the whole time.
Yeah, he just closes it to go out to LA. It's like, okay. Which I could see that. Why not? But yeah, that was the only thing I was like, that was just unnecessary. He's unnecessary.
No, 100%.
But
I agree.
But yeah, I like your idea of he's just like a placeholder.
Well, I only thought about that watching this episode because it wasn't until this one where I was like, man, like you said, it was unnecessary. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, but I guarantee you it's not unnecessary because Charlie's broke and doesn't have money. He's going to need a job. Ellen's pretty much the same way. She has some money, but not much money.
Yeah.
So both of them are going to need jobs. Why not have one of them 10 bar?
Yeah, I think that would, and I'll be honest, I think Charlie would be the funnier pick.
100%.
Yeah, I think it would be way more fun.
Especially with his appreciation for the bar itself.
Yeah.
You know, in that shared moment him and Sid had in the very first episode.
Yep. Yeah, I could see that. That could be real fun, make for some funny moments in the bar.
Yes.
I think so. Yes. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. So here's hoping that we get some funny stuff like that. But yeah, do you have any other final thoughts on the episode?
Not final thoughts on the episode, but I do have one question for you.
Okay.
Now that we're a third episode in and we've gotten a little bit more character development, who's your favorite character overall as of right now?
My favorite character, I think I'm leaning a bit because I'm a little torn, but I think I'm leaning towards Sid.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sid and then probably Charlie.
Charlie's my number one. Yeah. I would probably follow that up with
because last week when we talked, I said Charlie and then Ellen. Because
that is true.
For those 2 episodes, that's who kind of like stood out to me. But here, and like after watching this episode, Sid has kind of jumped up for me.
Yeah.
And so I guess we'll see as you know time goes on.
I'm going to ask that sporadically, like every few episodes, just to see like where you're going with it. But like as of right now, Charlie's probably my number one, and I'm not 100% sure about my number 2, man. I really like his character that he's like this super rich guy who all of a sudden has no money and he's adapting to being poor, but he's trying so hard to be a poor that he doesn't even know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because like. I don't dislike any of the characters, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know, like I like them all in varying degrees. I think they're all being played very well. So I'm excited to kind of have my opinions shift around as time goes on.
Fair enough.
So I think it'll be good. I'm really enjoying the show quite a bit. So I'm excited. I'm glad that we have been reviewing it and stuff. So.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So if that's all you got, John, tell them where they can find you.
I mean, jump over on Twitter. Right here, it's Simply Sane J1. It's the corresponding to my podcast and my blog, Simply Sane with Jay. I mean, I'm not a hard person to find. Jump over on Facebook. Find me at J John Made. I mean, you wanna shoot me a message? You want to be my friend? You want to talk? I mean, definitely hit me up in those 2 places because that's the easiest places to find me. Josh, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at JP Raynor. That's JPRAYNOR, as well as right down here at Movie Blog Merc. That is the Twitter page for my site, Merc with a Movie Blog. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are on the Merc with Movie Blog YouTube channel. So be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, click that little bell. That's right. You'll get notified whenever we drop episodes, not just of Last Call at McLaren's, which is every Monday and Friday, while How I Met Your Father is going on, but also some of the other great shows that I have there.
Not to mention his movie trailer reviews and all that other great stuff that comes along with that.
In which this guy has been on a few of. Absolutely.
And just for the people who are really interested in hearing it, Josh has recently asked me if I would review a Broadway style review for a CD. Wow, I really tripped over that one, so forgive me. So it is the Four Phantoms in Concert CD. So I mean, stay tuned for that because I'm definitely going to review Four Phantoms.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can catch us right here on Last Call on Twitter at Last Call HIMYM, anchor.fm/Last Call HIMYM, and we are available on all the major podcasting platforms.
Hell yeah!
If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you like what you're hearing, and we will read it out on air. We've done that on the other show before. And if you are listening on Anchor, leave us a voice message. We'll play that on air as well.
Hell yeah. Leave us a voice message. Leave us a comment. Leave us anything that's like positively reviewing us. And I mean, we'll give you a throw out. We'll give you a shout.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, hell, leave us your phone number. I'll text you and be like, what's up?
He probably will. So I think that's all I've got for him. John, what do you got?
Listen, guys, I'm trying to be nice here. You don't have to go home, but you can't listen here.
That's right. Catch you next time.